Welcome to Heart Over Gold, the channel where love, kindness, and humanity shine brighter than any fortune. In today's story, Katrina, a single mother, marries wealthy stranger William to save her son's life. What starts as a marriage of necessity grows into a deep, loving bond. Together they build a family filled with love, compassion, and unexpected joy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments, and keep up with our latest stories. Gina Rinfield was a mother like no other. She lived in a small, modest house in the suburbs, her days filled with the routine of caring for her son, Noah. A single mother, she had poured every ounce of herself into raising him after her husband's tragic death in a car accident when Noah was just a baby. She never had time for herself, focusing instead on providing the best life she could for Noah. Every day was an act of love, sacrifice, and hard work. At 10 years old, Noah was an energetic, kind-hearted boy with a passion for soccer, but his health had begun to deteriorate over the past few months. His doctors had diagnosed him with a rare condition, one that required expensive, specialized treatment. Despite her best efforts to scrape together the funds, Katrina found herself drowning in debt. Unable to afford the life-saving treatment Noah desperately needed. One evening, after receiving yet another rejection from the medical insurance company, Katrina broke down in tears. She felt like she had failed her son, like she had reached the end of her rope. She had no more options, no more solutions. The weight of it all was too much to bear. Then an unexpected opportunity presented itself. A local charity, one that Katrina had been volunteering for, offered to pay for Noah's treatment, but there was a catch. To secure the funds, Katrina would have to marry a stranger man with the financial means to cover the cost of the medical expenses. At first, Katrina was in shock. She couldn't fathom the idea of marrying someone she didn't know, especially for the sake of money. But the thought of Noah's health and the way his eyes had lit up when she told him he would get the treatment he needed made her decision clear. She would do anything for him, so Katrina reluctantly agreed. She met the man, William Blackwood, in a quiet coffee shop a week later. William was tall, with dark brown hair and kind eyes. He looked every bit the part of a successful businessman. Dressed in a sharp suit, his demeanor composed and professional, he had a quiet strength about him that instantly made Katrina feel at ease, though she still didn't fully understand the arrangement. William explained that his late father had left him a vast fortune, but he had always kept to himself, away from the public eye. He had no family of his own, and the idea of marrying a woman he didn't know seemed like the only way to fulfill the charity's requirements without complicating his life. He also expressed his admiration for Katrina's dedication to her son, acknowledging how much she loved Noah and how far she was willing to go to save him. The wedding was small and intimate. It wasn't a traditional ceremony. It was more of a formality than anything else. Katrina wore a simple dress, and William stood beside her as they exchanged vows, both of them fully aware of the practical reasons behind the marriage. But in the quiet of the ceremony, something unexpected happened. There was a softness in William's gaze, a genuine warmth in his voice, and a kindness in his touch that made Katrina feel seen. She began to wonder if, perhaps, there was more to him than just the money and the formalities. Over the next few months, their lives began to intertwine in unexpected ways. William moved into Katrina's modest home, and they settled into a new routine. He didn't act like a wealthy businessman. Instead, he took the time to bond with Noah, coaching him through soccer games, attending school events, and helping with homework. He was patient and kind, always going out of his way to make Noah feel special, never once treating him as a charity case. Katrina, too, began to see a side of William she hadn't expected. Behind the polished exterior and the financial empire he had built, there was a man with a heart full of compassion. He would surprise her with small gestures of kindness, leaving her favorite flowers on the kitchen counter, helping around the house without being asked, or staying up late to talk with her when she was feeling overwhelmed. Slowly, the walls she had built around her heart started to crumble. One evening, after Noah had gone to bed, William sat down next to Katrina on the couch, his hand resting gently on hers. "Katrina," he began softly, "I know this marriage started with a practical purpose, but I want you to know something. I never expected to care about you as much as I do. I've never been this close to anyone before, not like this." Katrina looked at him, surprised. She had been trying so hard to keep her emotions in check, to maintain the boundaries she had set for herself. But now, hearing him speak so openly, she realized that her feelings for him had changed too. She had come to admire him, to trust him, and, dare she admit it, to love him. "I didn't expect to feel this way either," she admitted, her voice quiet. When I agreed to this, I didn't think it would be like this. I thought it would just be a marriage of convenience. But you've shown me so much more. You've given Noah and me a life that I didn't think was possible. William smiled, his thumb gently brushing against her hand. We've given each other a chance, and I don't want to waste that. Over time, their bond deepened. The love between them grew quietly, unassumingly, but with a depth that surprised them both. William made it clear that he had no expectations of her. He had entered the marriage to help her, but he had come to care for her deeply. Katrina, too, had come to realize that she didn't need to hold back any longer. They had built something real, based on trust, kindness, and a shared commitment to Noah that as the months went by, Noah's condition improved dramatically. The treatment William had helped fund was working, and the smile on Noah's face as he kicked a soccer ball around in the yard was a daily reminder of the love that had blossomed between all three of them. One day, as Katrina watched William and Noah playing together outside, she felt a warmth in her chest. The man she had married to save her son had become the man she loved. She turned to him, her voice steady but full of emotion. I don't know how to thank you, William. You've given us more than I ever could have imagined. William smiled, softly, taking her hand in his. You don't have to thank me, Katrina. You and Noah are everything I never knew I needed. And in that moment, Katrina knew that this was no longer a marriage of necessity. It was a marriage built on love, kindness, and compassion. They had started out as strangers, bound by circumstance, but in the end, they had created a family, one that was held together by far more than wealth. Thus the years passed. They faced challenges, but they always faced them together. William's wealth never defined their relationship. Instead, it was the love they shared, the kindness they showed to each other and to the world, and the compassion they held for those they cared about that made their family strong. Katrina looked at the life they had built together, and she realized something profound. Love had a way of finding you, even in the most unexpected of places. And sometimes, the most unlikely of marriages could lead to the deepest and most enduring kind of love. Together they had saved each other, and in doing so, they had created a family bound not by wealth or circumstance, but by love, kindness, and a shared commitment to one another. As the years passed, the bond between Katrina, William, and Noah only grew stronger. The initial foundation of their marriage, born out of necessity, had transformed into something profound, something neither of them could have predicted. The couple's days were filled with moments of joy, laughter, and understanding that would have seemed impossible when they first met. William, once the wealthy stranger, had become the quiet pillar of their home, and Katrina, the devoted mother, had found herself falling deeper for the man who had come into their lives at the most unexpected time. Noah, too, had blossomed into a confident, happy child. His once frail health had stabilized, and he had returned to his passion for soccer, with a promise to never take his health for granted again. As much as he had grown physically stronger, he also flourished emotionally. Under the loving support of William and Katrina, he no longer viewed William as a stranger, but as a father figure who had been there for him when he needed it the most. There were times when Katrina still marveled at how quickly her life had changed. A year ago, she had been struggling to save her son's life, and now, not only was Noah healthy, but her marriage was thriving in ways she never thought possible. The love they shared felt like a quiet, steady rhythm, a song that had been written with their hearts and minds in perfect harmony. One evening, as she watched William and Noah work together in the garden, Katrina couldn't help but feel a wave of gratitude wash over her. She had started this journey thinking she was making a sacrifice, marrying a stranger just to save her son's life. But now, as she looked at them both, she realized that she had gained so much more than just financial help. She had found a family, she had found love. That night, after Noah had gone to bed, Katrina and William sat on the porch, the cool evening air wrapping around them as they watched the stars appear above them. You know, Katrina began, her voice soft, I never thought I'd be here. I never thought this would be my life, married to a man I didn't know, living in a home like this, raising a son with someone I barely knew. She paused, looking at him. But now, I can't imagine it any other way. William smiled, his hand gently brushing against hers. Neither can I, he said quietly. It's funny how life works. I married you to help, to fulfill some obligation. But what I got in return was so much more. I got you, and I got Noah. And in that process, I learned what it means to really love without strings attached. Katrina felt a lump form in her throat, and she turned to look at him. I never could have imagined that the man who helped me save my son would become the man I'd fall in love with. You're everything I never knew I needed. William chuckled softly, but there was a warmth in his eyes that spoke volumes. I'm glad you see me that way, Katrina. I don't deserve all this, especially after everything you've been through, but I'm here, and I'm all in. For you, for Noah, for our family. The weight of his words lingered between them, and Katrina felt a deep sense of peace settle in her heart. She had feared that their marriage, born out of such a challenging situation, might never amount to anything meaningful. But over time, William had proven himself to be more than just a man of wealth. He had become the kindest, most compassionate person she had ever known. His heart had opened to her in ways she had never expected, and their bond had turned into something neither of them could have foreseen. They weren't just partners in marriage, they were true partners in life. One afternoon, a few weeks later, Noah ran into the house with a big smile on his face, holding a flyer in his hands. Mom, Dad, guess what? I made the soccer team. I'm going to be on the starting lineup. His excitement was contagious as he jumped up and down in their living room. Katrina and William exchanged a look, both beaming with pride. William knelt down to Noah's level and pulled him into a big hug. That's amazing, kiddo. You worked so hard for this. I'm so proud of you. Noah beamed, his joy radiating through the room. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Mum. He turned to Katrina and gave her a big hug. I couldn't have done it without you both. Katrina's eyes welled up with tears as she looked at her son, so full of life and hope. There was a time when she feared she might lose him, and now, she watched him flourish, knowing that love and sacrifice had brought them to this moment. That evening, as they sat down to dinner, Noah eagerly talked about his new soccer practices, while Katrina and William listened, their hearts swelling with love. They were a family now, not just by name, but by everything they had shared. And as the days passed, Katrina realized that the love they shared, the kindness and the compassion they had shown one another, was the glue that held them together. It was during a quiet evening at home, years after they had first married, that William turned to Katrina with a thoughtful expression on his face. You know, he said, I've been thinking a lot lately about how much we've changed, how far we've come. You saved Noah's life, and in doing so, you saved me, too. You showed me the power of love and selflessness, and I've never been more grateful. Katrina smiled, reaching for his hand. I think we saved each other, she said softly. We've given each other a life, a love, and a family. William nodded, his eyes filled with emotion. I love you, Katrina. I don't just love you because of the past, but because of everything we've built together. You've made me a better man, and I'll spend every day showing you how much you mean to me. Katrina's heart swelled as she realized how far they had come, not just as a couple, but as a family. They had started out as strangers, brought together by an unexpected circumstance, but now they were bound by something much stronger: love, kindness, and a commitment to each other. Together they had created a life filled with warmth, joy, and the kind of love that transcended anything they could have imagined. And in that moment, with William's hand in hers and Noah's laughter echoing from the next room, Katrina knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, as a family forever. As time continued to pass, the life they had built together only became richer, more vibrant. They had weathered many storms, and though there were challenges, they faced them with a deep sense of unity and mutual respect. Their love, which had been born from a place of necessity, had grown into something beautiful, a connection that was unbreakable and filled with endless possibilities. One afternoon, when Noah had returned from his soccer practice, he ran into the house, full of excitement. Mum, Dad, guess what? He said, his grin reaching ear to ear. The coach picked me to be the captain of the team for this season. Katrina's heart swelled with pride as she looked at William, who was already standing to give Noah a hug. That's incredible, son, William said with pride in his voice. I knew you could do it. Katrina beamed, feeling her heart fill with gratitude for this family they had built. She had never imagined that, from the darkest days of uncertainty and fear, they would come to be this happy, this full of love. Their journey had been a roller coaster, but every twist and turn had led them to this moment, a moment of peace and joy. As Noah continued to share his excitement about his soccer captaincy, Katrina realized how much they had all grown. Her son, once so fragile and weak, was now thriving in every way. He had become a leader on his team, not only because of his natural talent, but because of the compassion and strength he had learned from both of his parents. Later that night, as they sat around the dinner table together, William leaned back in his chair, looking at his family with a thoughtful expression. You know, he began, I used to think I had everything: wealth, success, the lifestyle. But what I have now, with the two of you, is so much more than I could have ever dreamed. Katrina reached across the table and took his hand in hers, a warm smile on her face. "I feel the same way," she said. "When I agreed to marry you, I never thought I would find a love so deep, so fulfilling. It's not about the wealth or the luxuries, it's about us, about this family we've created." Noah, who had been listening quietly, suddenly piped up, his eyes bright. "You guys are the best parents ever. I'm lucky to have you both." Katrina and William exchanged a smile, their hearts full. They had come to realize that true wealth wasn't measured by bank accounts or fancy cars, but by the love they shared and the lives they had touched along the way. In their quiet moments of reflection, they both knew they had everything they needed in each other. The seasons changed, and so did their lives, though in ways that felt organic and natural. William, who had once been a man consumed by his business, had learned to slow down, to savor the moments with Katrina and Noah. He was no longer driven solely by the need to succeed. Instead, he was focused on living a life full of love and giving back. He started to dedicate more of his time to philanthropic causes, something he had always intended to do but had never truly prioritized. With Katrina by his side, they began to contribute to several charities that supported families in need, children's health, and education organizations that resonated deeply with their own experiences. William had found a new sense of purpose in helping others, and Katrina, always the nurturing soul, supported him every step of the way. One evening, after a long day of meetings and charity events, William came home to find Katrina sitting on the couch, reading a book, and Noah playing a video game nearby. He felt a rush of affection for them both. As he looked around their home, he realized that it wasn't just the house that mattered, it was the people inside it. The laughter, the love, the shared moments. That was what made their life rich. Katrina glanced up as William entered the room, and she smiled warmly at him. "How was your day, love?" she asked, her voice soothing after a long, busy day. "It was good," William said, walking over to her and sitting down beside her. "But it's always better when I'm here with you." Katrina laughed softly, her hand resting on his. "It's the same for me." Noah, who had been listening to their conversation, jumped up and ran over to William. "Dad, can we go to the park tomorrow? I want you to see my new moves for soccer. I'm working on my footwork." William's heart swelled with pride as he ruffled Noah's hair. "Of course, son, we'll go first thing tomorrow. I wouldn't miss it for the world." As Noah ran off to get ready for bed, Katrina leaned in and kissed William's cheek. "You're doing so much good, you know, not just for us, but for so many people. I'm proud of you." William's eyes softened. "I couldn't do it without you, Katrina. You remind me every day of what really matters. I think I've learned more from you than you'll ever know." The warmth in his words made Katrina's heart swell. She had always known that William had the capacity for kindness and compassion, but watching him grow into the man he had become, someone who valued love, family, and giving back, filled her with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The next morning, they went to the park, just as they had promised. Noah showed off his soccer skills, running around the field with his dad cheering him on from the sidelines. The sight of the two of them, side by side, filled Katrina with a deep sense of peace. She had fought so hard to keep her family together, and now, looking at them, she realized that everything she had done was worth it. As they sat on the grass after the game, Noah exhausted but happy, William turned to Katrina with a smile. "You've made my life more beautiful than I ever could have imagined." Katrina leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. "I feel the same way, William. This life, this family, it's everything I could have ever hoped for." And as the sun set on another perfect day, Katrina realized that the journey that had begun with desperation had transformed into something far greater. It wasn't just about saving her son anymore, it was about creating a life full of love, kindness, and compassion. And in that moment, she knew that this was only the beginning of their story, a story that would continue to unfold with every passing day, built on the foundation of the most powerful force in the universe, love. As the weeks passed, William and Katrina found themselves becoming even more deeply connected, both emotionally and physically. The foundation of their relationship was built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding, but now, a deep and passionate love began to flourish. Their connection was no longer just about the love they had for each other, it was about the fire they had kindled that burned bright in their hearts. One evening, after a long week of charity events and community work, William surprised Katrina with a quiet dinner at home. The house was dimly lit, candles flickering softly on the table. The air was filled with the scent of freshly prepared food, and the warmth between them was palpable. Katrina sat across from him, her heart fluttering at the way he looked at her, his eyes intense, filled with admiration and desire. She had come to realize that, in William, she had found not only a partner but a lover who cherished her deeply, in every way. There was an undeniable chemistry between them, one that had grown over time, fueled by their shared experiences and unwavering connection. After dinner, as the dishes were cleared away, William pulled her close, his lips brushing against her forehead as he whispered, "I've wanted you all night, Katrina. It's been too long since we've had a moment just for us." Her breath caught in her throat as she looked up into his eyes. There was a softness in his gaze, mixed with the heat of desire, and she couldn't resist him. Without a word, she leaned in, capturing his lips in a kiss that was slow and tender at first, but quickly grew deeper, more urgent. Her body responded to his touch, the electricity between them undeniable. William pulled her closer, his hands gently running down her back, feeling the warmth of her skin beneath the fabric of her dress. The kiss deepened, both of them surrendering to the passion that had been building between them for weeks, months even. The love they had was now more than just emotionally, it was physical, raw, and undeniable. As the night went on, the world around them faded away. All that mattered was the love they shared in that moment. The way their bodies fit together, the way their hearts beat in sync, it was a culmination of everything they had been through, everything they had fought for. Katrina had never felt more alive, more wanted, than in William's embrace. She had once feared that love might be fleeting, that the spark they had found would eventually fade. But now, she realized, the passion they shared wasn't something that would burn out, it was something that would continue to grow, to deepen, as long as they nurtured it later. As they lay tangled in the sheets, their bodies still warm from the heat of their love, Katrina looked into William's eyes, her fingers tracing the outline of his jaw. "I never imagined it would be like this," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. "I never imagined that love could feel so complete." William smiled, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "I don't think I ever knew what love was until I met you, Katrina. You've awakened something in me, something I didn't even know was there." The intimacy between them, both emotional and physical, had transformed their relationship. They were no longer just two people who had come together by circumstance. They were two souls who had found something deep and lasting, something that went beyond the surface. They had become a team, bound not just by the trials they had faced, but by the passion they had for one another. As the days continued, the love they shared only grew stronger. They made time for each other, no matter how busy life got. Whether it was a quiet evening at home or a spontaneous trip to a new place, they found ways to reconnect, to nurture their love. One weekend, they went on a romantic getaway to a secluded beach house. The sound of the ocean waves crashing against the shore, the scent of the salty air, and the warmth of the sun made for the perfect backdrop to the intimacy they shared. They spent their days walking along the beach, hand in hand, talking about their dreams and their future. At night, they would make love under the stars, their bodies intertwined in a dance of passion and tenderness. The connection between them was electric, and Katrina realized that she had found a kind of love that she had always dreamed of, a love that was as passionate as it was deep. There were no walls between them, no hesitation. They loved each other fully, freely, without fear. One night, as they lay in bed together, their bodies tangled in the sheets, William kissed her softly, his lips brushing against her ear. "You're the love of my life, Katrina," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "I want to spend every moment with you, loving you." Katrina's heart swelled with warmth as she kissed him back, her hands tracing the lines of his chest. "I feel the same, William. You are my everything." In that moment, they knew that their love wasn't just about passion, it was about the trust, the respect, and the shared commitment to each other. They had built a foundation of love that was as solid as the walls of their home, and no matter what the future held, they would face it together, with passion, love, and an unbreakable bond that as the months continued to pass, their love deepened in ways they couldn't have predicted. The passion between them was still fierce, but now it was accompanied by a deeper emotional intimacy. They learned more about each other every day, not just the things they loved, but also the things that scared them, the things that made them vulnerable. Through it all, they remained committed to one another, nurturing their love with kindness, tenderness, and passion. And in each other, they had found something they could never have imagined, a love that was not only passionate and exciting but also comforting and safe. Together, they had built a life that was full of laughter, joy, and love, one that was as beautiful and passionate as the bond they shared. And they knew that as long as they had each other, nothing could ever shake the foundation of love they had created. As the seasons changed, so did the depth of their relationship. William and Katrina had learned to navigate the complexities of their lives together. not just as lovers, but as partners. The passion they shared was still there, burning brightly. But now it was intertwined with a sense of peace and contentment that only came from knowing they had each other's backs. No matter what, Katrina continued her work as a nurse, a career that had once been her greatest passion, but now it had a new layer of meaning. She no longer had to juggle it with feelings of loneliness or isolation. She knew that at the end of the day, no matter how hard her shifts were, she had a loving and supportive partner waiting for her. William, too, had found a new rhythm in his life. As a successful businessman, he had once been consumed by the pressure to keep climbing higher. But now, with Katrina by his side, he learned to balance his ambition with the quiet joy of simply being with her. One evening, after a particularly difficult day at work, Katrina came home to find a surprise waiting for her. The living room was lit by soft candlelight, and a delicious aroma wafted through the air. William had prepared her favorite dinner, an intricate dish she'd once told him she loved but had never been able to replicate herself. He greeted her with a warm smile, his eyes twinkling with affection. "I thought you could use a night off," he said, taking her coat and pulling her into his arms for a quick kiss. "I know things have been crazy with work lately, and I wanted to remind you how much I appreciate everything you do." Katrina's heart melted. She hadn't expected this gesture, but it was exactly what she needed. She had been feeling overwhelmed by the demands of her job, and to come home to a loving, thoughtful husband who cared for her so deeply meant more than words could express. The evening unfolded with ease, laughter, and shared stories of their days. They talked about their plans for the future, about a home of their own, about vacations they wanted to take, about the little things that made life so special. Later that night, as they sat on the couch together, their hands intertwined, Katrina looked at William with deep gratitude. "You've changed everything for me," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You made me believe in love again, in kindness, in compassion. I never thought I could have this kind of life." William smiled softly, pulling her closer so that her head rested on his chest. "I think we saved each other, Katrina," he murmured. "I was lost in my own world, thinking that success was everything. But what I found with you, it's everything I could have ever hoped for. You made me see that love, kindness, and compassion were what really mattered." They stayed there, in the quiet comfort of each other's presence, the bond between them stronger than ever. It wasn't just about the passion they shared. It was about the deep, unconditional love that had grown between them. It was the way they supported each other, the way they showed up day after day, with patience, understanding, and tenderness. As they drifted off to sleep that night, wrapped in each other's arms, Katrina's mind replayed the journey they had been on, how she had come from a place of desperation and fear to finding a love that was so complete, so pure, that it filled every corner of her heart. It was a love that was grounded in kindness and compassion, one that had brought light back into her life. The months that followed were filled with more of the same, quiet moments of connection, unexpected surprises, and deepening love. William continued to be a constant source of support in her life, always present when she needed him. And Katrina, in turn, showed him how to be vulnerable and open, how to share his emotions without fear of judgment. They had become each other's safe space. One day, when they were out for a walk in the park, William stopped suddenly and turned to face her. "Katrina," he began, his voice slightly nervous but full of sincerity, "I've been thinking about something. I don't want to wait any longer. I want to ask you something important." Katrina's heart skipped a beat, her curiosity piqued. She looked into his eyes, her hand instinctively reaching for his. "What is it, William?" He smiled, his eyes softening with emotion. "I know we've already been through so much together, and I know that we've both changed in ways that have made us better, but I want to make it official. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me, Katrina?" Katrina's eyes welled up with tears as she took in the words. She had never expected this, and yet, in her heart, she had always known that William was the one. He had shown her what real love was, and in turn, she had found a love that was both powerful and gentle, passionate and kind. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling with joy. "Yes, I will marry you, William, 1,000 times, yes." The moment was perfect in its simplicity. They didn't need a grand gesture or extravagant setting. All they needed was each other. They embraced, their kiss filled with the love and promise of a future they would build together. As they continued to plan their future, William and Katrina found themselves deeper in love than they had ever imagined. Their connection was no longer just about passion, it was about building a life together. With all the ups and downs, joys and challenges that life would bring, it was about a love that was both tender and fierce, built on the foundation of compassion, kindness, and unwavering support, and so, their journey continued. With each passing day, their bond grew stronger, their love deeper. They traveled together, started a family, and built a life full of memories. Every day was a new chapter in their love story, and they knew that no matter what came their way, they would face it together, hand in hand, heart to heart. Their love was a love that defied expectations, a love that started with sacrifice and grew into something even more beautiful than either of them had ever imagined. And as they stood together, watching their children play, their hearts full of joy and gratitude, they knew that they had created something truly remarkable in each other. They had found not only love but a deep and abiding companionship, a love that was passionate, kind, and compassionate, a love that would continue to grow, nurture, and sustain them for the rest of their days. Together they had built something far more valuable than wealth, a life full of love, warmth, and happiness. As the years passed, their love continued to grow in ways that neither William nor Katrina had ever imagined. They had built a life together from the ground up, starting with the humble moments of their marriage, and now, surrounded by the joy of children, success, and mutual respect, they knew they had something far beyond what they had ever dreamed possible. Katrina's once isolated world had transformed. No longer was she the woman fighting against overwhelming odds, caring for her son alone. Now she had the support of a partner who truly understood her needs and desires. William's heart had softened in ways that even he hadn't expected. The once cold and detached businessman was now a man who cherished the small moments of life, whether it was taking a walk with Katrina, laughing with their children, or simply sharing a quiet evening together. Their children, Ava, Lily, and Emma, brought a new sense of purpose into their lives. The girls had grown into bright, confident young girls with their own dreams and personalities. William and Katrina reveled in every stage of their growth, each milestone, each lesson learned, and each tear shed. Parenthood had bonded them even more, teaching them the importance of patience, sacrifice, and love in its purest form. William, who had once been obsessed with climbing the ladder of success, now found himself at peace with his achievements. He had no desire to pursue more wealth, as he had once done. His true wealth, he had come to realize, was found in the love he shared with Katrina and their children. He took great pride in the family they had built and the lessons they were teaching each other every day, and he had become the kind of man Katrina could rely on, completely unconditionally, fully present, and unwavering in his support. But as life often does, it threw new challenges their way. William's company was faced with a potential financial crisis, one that threatened to undo years of hard work. The pressure of this uncertainty loomed over him, and for the first time since their marriage, Katrina saw the same man she had once known, distant and preoccupied with something beyond their family. One evening, after the children had gone to bed, Katrina found William in the study. His brow furrowed as he reviewed endless spreadsheets on his laptop. She stood in the doorway, watching him for a moment, unsure whether to interrupt. "William," she said gently, her voice soft but steady, "we need to talk." He looked up, the exhaustion in his eyes evident. "I know," he sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm sorry. I've been so caught up in this, trying to fix it all, but it's hard. Soph, I don't know if I can turn this around." Katrina walked into the room, sitting next to him. "You've always been able to turn things around, William, but this time, you don't have to do it alone. We're a team now. You don't need to carry this burden by yourself." William looked at her, his expression softening. "I know, but this is different. This is my company, my responsibility. I don't want to let you down." So if her heart ached for him, she understood the pressure he felt, the need to be the provider, the protector. But she also knew that their strength as a family wasn't built on perfection or the ability to fix everything. It was built on the foundation of trust, love, and support. "You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders," she said, her voice full of compassion. "You've already given me everything I need. You've given us everything, and we're going to be okay, no matter what happens." William met her gaze, and for the first time in weeks, he felt a sense of calm. The relentless pressure he had been under started to fade, replaced by a quiet understanding that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would face them with Katrina by his side. "I don't know what I would do without you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You're the reason I'm still standing." Katrina smiled, her heart swelling with love for the man who had been so determined, so driven. "And you're the reason I'm not just surviving, William. You've given me the world. All I want now is for us to continue building it together." That night, after a long conversation, they decided that William would take a step back from his company and focus on finding a solution that was right for everyone, not just for him. It was a difficult decision, one that challenged his identity as a successful businessman, but it was one that had brought them closer together. Katrina, too, stepped into her role with a renewed sense of purpose. She had always been a compassionate and selfless person, but now she found herself teaching the children more than just school lessons. She taught them the importance of resilience, the power of love, and the value of working together through difficult times. Together they would get through this no matter what. Weeks passed, and the situation at William's company slowly began to improve. With Katrina's support, William made key changes, restructuring the business in ways that were more sustainable and more in line with his new values. The financial strain didn't disappear overnight, but together they were able to weather the storm. One day, as William stood in the doorway of their home, watching Katrina and the girls play in the yard, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. The challenges he had faced had brought him closer to the people he loved the most. He no longer measured his success by the amount of money in his bank account. Instead, he measured it by the love and connection he shared with his family. Later, that evening, as they sat together at the dinner table, their children's laughter filling the air, Katrina reached across the table to take William's hand. "You know," she said softly, "I used to think that saving our son was the most important thing in my life, but I was wrong." William raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh," Katrina smiled, squeezing his hand gently. "I think the most important thing is learning to love and care for each other through the hard times, the good times, and everything in between. We're a family, William, and we've created something beautiful together." William's heart swelled, and he leaned over to kiss her gently. "I couldn't agree more, Soph. I don't know what I did to deserve you, but I'll never stop trying to show you how much you mean to me." She smiled, her eyes sparkling with the same love and affection she had felt for him from the very first moment they met. "You don't have to try. You've already shown me every day." As the years continued to unfold, their love only deepened. They faced challenges, yes, but they knew that they could handle anything as long as they had each other. William and Katrina learned that love was not just about grand gestures or lofty ambitions. It was about the small, everyday acts of kindness, compassion, and dedication. Together, they built a life that was richer than anything money could buy, and in each other's arms, they found not only a love that was passionate and fiery, but also one that was kind, compassionate, and enduring. And as they looked to the future, hand in hand, they knew that whatever came their way, they would face it together, united, strong, and filled with love. As the years continued to unfold, William and Katrina's life became an inspiring testament to love, kindness, and resilience. They had not only survived the most trying times together, but had flourished in ways they never thought possible. Their bond was built on a solid foundation of trust, understanding, and shared experiences that made their relationship stronger. With each passing day, one crisp autumn afternoon, after a long day at work, William returned home to find the house unusually quiet. He was used to the sound of his children running around, playing, and Katrina humming a soft tune as she worked in the kitchen. But today, everything was still. He walked into the living room, and there, sitting on the couch, was Katrina, eyes red from crying, her hands tightly clutching a letter. "Katrina." William's voice was soft with concern, his heart skipping a beat at the sight of her distress. She looked up, her tear-filled eyes meeting his, and without a word, handed him the letter. William read it in silence, his brow furrowing as he processed the contents. It was a letter from the adoption agency, the one they had been hoping to hear from for months. They had applied to adopt a child together, wanting to expand their family. But the letter wasn't what they had expected. The agency had informed them that, due to unforeseen circumstances, their application had been put on hold indefinitely. The letter explained that there were complications in the approval process, and they wouldn't be able to adopt for the foreseeable future. The dream they had both shared, the dream of bringing another child into their family, seemed to have been dashed. Katrina wiped her eyes, trying to smile through her tears. "I don't know what to do, William. I thought we were so close. I thought we were ready." William set the letter down and sat beside her, wrapping his arms around her in a gentle embrace. "Hey, look at me," he said softly. "We will get through this. I know it feels like a setback, but we've faced challenges before, and we've come out stronger every time. This doesn't change anything." Katrina shook her head. "I thought this was the last piece, you know. I thought that if we could just give a child a loving home, it would complete everything. But now, I don't know." William gently cupped her face, his heart breaking for her. "Katrina, you've already given so much love to this family. You've made me a better man, and you've given our children a beautiful home. Love isn't just about numbers or being able to adopt. It's in everything we've built together. You've given so much already." But Katrina's heart was heavy, burdened with the thought that maybe they weren't meant to have another child. She had dreamed of expanding their family, of creating even more memories to share. But instead, this was a roadblock, one that seemed insurmountable. As the night wore on, Katrina retreated into herself, spending hours lost in thought. William gave her space but remained close, determined to show her that she wasn't alone in this. He understood the pain she was feeling. He saw the love she had for their children, the devotion she had always shown to their family. He knew that she was hurting, and that made him hurt too. The next morning, when the sun began to rise, Katrina stood by the kitchen window, staring out at the beautiful garden they had planted together over the years. She thought about the letter, about the dream of growing their family, and about everything that was beyond her reach. William joined her silently, wrapping his arms around her from behind, holding her tightly as if trying to shield her from the hurt she was feeling. "I know this isn't what we planned," he whispered softly, "but I want you to know that my love for you and for this family, this life we've created, is stronger than any dream we may have had. We've built something beautiful, Katrina, and that's all that matters." Tears welled in Katrina's eyes as she closed her hands over his. "But I wanted to give our children another sibling. I wanted to share our love with another child." "No," William said, his voice thick with emotion. "But maybe it's not about completing a family in the way we thought it would happen. Maybe it's about knowing that we've done everything we could to create a beautiful life for those around us." Katrina leaned her head back against his chest, the tears slipping freely down her cheeks. "I don't know how to move past this. You don't have to have all the answers right now," William replied, his voice full of love. "You don't need to be strong all the time, Soph. I'm here for you every step of the way. We don't have to have everything figured out. We have each other." As Katrina stood there, feeling William's warmth and the strength of his words surrounding her, she realized something important. Love wasn't about filling a void or chasing an ideal. It was about the people who loved you, the ones who were by your side when things didn't go as planned. It was in the moments of pain, of loss, that love could shine its brightest. In the weeks that followed, things didn't magically improve, but together they found a way forward. They embraced their family as it was, cherishing the moments they had. William continued to pour his love into their children, offering them unwavering support as they navigated their own lives. They found joy in the little things, their children's laughter, their shared conversations at the dinner table, and the quiet moments that only deepened their bond. And then, one day, out of the blue, the agency called. They had found a match, a child in need of a loving home. The news was surreal, and Katrina could hardly believe it. It wasn't the child she had envisioned, but it was a child who needed love, and she and William were ready to give that love. With renewed hope, they welcomed the child into their home, a child who would fill the remaining space in their hearts. It wasn't the perfect solution, but it was their solution. It was a reminder that sometimes the best things in life came when you least expected them, when you allowed yourself to be open to new possibilities. That as the months went by, their family grew, not just in number, but in the depth of their love and compassion. William and Katrina learned that life wasn't about the plans you make or the dreams you chase. It was about finding beauty in the unexpected, love in the hardest moments, and strength in the knowledge that no matter what came their way, they had each other, and in that they had everything. The love they shared, the compassion they gave, and the kindness that they showed each other made their family stronger than any plan could have. In the end, Katrina realized that the greatest thing she could have ever given their children wasn't just a sibling, it was a life full of love, kindness, and compassion, and that, in the end, was all that really mattered. As their family adjusted to the new addition, Katrina and William realized that the unexpected path they had taken was one that would continue to shape their lives in profound ways. Their hearts were fuller than they had ever been before, and the love they shared grew stronger each day. But life, as it often does, presented new challenges. The little girl they had welcomed into their home, a shy and withdrawn child named Lily, had been through trauma that Katrina and William could only begin to understand. Her reluctance to trust, her silence, and her fear of being abandoned weighed heavily on their hearts. Katrina found herself spending hours trying to comfort her, talking to her softly, reading to her at night, and reassuring her that she was loved. But Lily's pain was deeper than any of them could have anticipated. There were nights when Lily cried herself to sleep, and despite all of Katrina's loving efforts, there were moments when she felt helpless. She would lie awake next to William, tears in her own eyes, wondering if she was doing enough for the child who had lost so much. One evening, after Lily had refused to join the family for dinner again, Katrina found herself alone with her daughter in the playroom. The quiet was suffocating, and Katrina could feel the tension in the room as Lily sat on the floor, hugging her knees to her chest. "Lily," Katrina said softly, sitting down beside her. "I know you're scared. I understand if you're not ready to talk yet, but I want you to know that no matter what, you're safe here. We're not going anywhere. You're part of our family now." Lily didn't answer, but Katrina could see the faint tremor in her hands, the vulnerability behind her eyes. Katrina didn't push her daughter to speak. Instead, she took her hand gently in her own and began to hum a song. It was a lullaby. Her mother had sung to her when she was a child, something familiar, something that had always brought her comfort. For a moment, Lily looked up at her, her eyes wide, unsure of what to make of this gesture. But slowly, she let go of the tight grip she had on her knees, and without a word, she leaned against Katrina's side. They sat there in silence, the warmth of the moment enveloping them as the music filled the space between them. That night, for the first time in weeks, Lily joined them at the dinner table, her eyes bright with curiosity. William glanced at Katrina, a silent thank you passing between them. They didn't have all the answers, but they were learning, together, that healing wasn't something that happened overnight. It was a journey, a long and winding one, but it was one they would take as a family. Months passed, and with each passing day, Lily grew more comfortable. There were still moments of hesitation, times when she would withdraw, but they had learned to be patient. They celebrated her small victories, the first time she laughed, the first time she spoke about her past, the first time she showed them a drawing she had made. It wasn't easy, and there were days when they felt like they were taking one step forward and two steps back, but they kept going, knowing that love would eventually mend the broken pieces. One quiet evening, after the children had gone to bed, William took Katrina's hand and pulled her gently onto the porch. They stood in silence, watching the stars above, the soft night air rustling the trees around them. "I don't know if we'll ever fully understand what Lily's been through," William said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "But I do know that we've created a home for her, and that's what matters. She's starting to trust us. She's starting to believe that we're not going anywhere." Katrina nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "I never imagined how much my heart could expand," she said softly, her hand resting on her chest. "When we first brought her home, I didn't know if I could be enough for her. I wasn't sure if I could heal her pain, but I see now, love isn't about fixing everything. It's about showing up, being there for them, no matter what. It's about patience and understanding." William pulled her into a gentle embrace. "I see that too, and I think she's starting to see it as well." That night, as they lay in bed, Katrina felt a deep sense of gratitude for the family they had become. She thought about the long road ahead, the challenges they would face, and the lessons they would learn together. She thought about Lily, and the bond that was slowly but surely being built, brick by brick, in ways she hadn't anticipated. And she knew, with every ounce of her being, that this was where she was meant to be, here, with William and with the children who had filled her heart in ways she could never have imagined. And so, their story continued, not just as a family of blood, but as a family of choice, a family that had been created not through perfect circumstances, but through love, kindness, and unwavering compassion. Every step they took forward was a testament to the strength of their bond, a bond that had been tested but had only grown stronger through every trial they faced. In the years that followed, their life was filled with more love than they ever thought possible. Their children flourished, each of them finding their own path in the world, while Katrina and William continued to grow in their relationship. Always choosing each other, always finding new ways to love, to support, and to cherish the life they had built. And through it all, the love they had for each other and their children was a reminder that no matter the challenges they faced, no matter the trials life threw their way, they were stronger together. For Katrina, the journey had begun with a marriage to a stranger, but it had turned into a story of deep, abiding love, a love that had transformed her life in ways she could never have predicted. And in that love, she had found not just happiness, but her true home. As the years passed, the family continued to evolve, and the love they shared grew even deeper. Katrina and William had now faced countless obstacles together, from challenges in raising their children to moments of doubt and hardship, yet, through it all, their connection never wavered. It was a love forged through patience, sacrifice, and an unwavering commitment to each other and their children. They had become not just a family in name, but a family in spirit, a family that knew the importance of showing up for one another, no matter the circumstances. Katrina had grown in ways she hadn't imagined when she first married William. The uncertainty of marrying a stranger, especially for her son's well-being, had seemed daunting at the time. But it was in these years of shared growth that she learned that love wasn't just about the grand gestures or easy moments. It was about consistency, kindness, and the everyday choices that built trust. Lily, the shy girl they had once brought home, was now a confident young girl who smiled more than she didn't. Though there were still moments of difficulty, the painful memories she carried with her no longer defined her. Katrina had been right when she believed that love didn't always have to fix everything, it just had to be present. And love, above all, had been present in their family. William, too, had changed. The once aloof businessman who had married out of necessity had become a devoted husband and father. His work, while still a significant part of his life, no longer took precedence over the people he loved. He had learned, through Katrina and their children, what it meant to be truly present, to listen, to care, and to be involved. He had opened his heart in ways he hadn't thought possible, and it was through this vulnerability that he had found the deep connection he had longed for, but had been too proud to seek before. On a warm summer evening, as they all sat together, in their backyard enjoying the fading light of the day, Katrina looked around at her family with a full heart. William was laughing with their son, who was trying to teach him how to throw a baseball. Lily was sitting by her side, a book in her hands, but her attention on the family she had come to love so deeply. There was a feeling of peace that settled over her, and it was at that moment that she realized just how far they had all come. This family, this beautiful, imperfect family, was her greatest accomplishment, not because they had it all together, but because they had chosen each other every single day. They had chosen to love, to fight for one another, and to grow together through every twist and turn. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of gold and pink, Katrina stood up, her heart swelling with gratitude. She walked over to William, who had just returned to her side, and took his hand. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" she said, her voice thick with emotion. William smiled, his hand squeezing hers. "Yes, we have. But I wouldn't change a thing. Every moment has been worth it." Katrina smiled back, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I think we've built something real here, something worth holding on to." "We'll always hold on to it," William said, pulling her closer. Together, as they embraced, the sound of their children's laughter filling the air around them, Katrina felt a deep sense of peace. Life had brought her so many unexpected twists, but in the end, it had led her exactly where she needed to be, right here, with the family she had always dreamed of, but never thought possible. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by the people she loved most, Katrina realized that love had been the thread that held them all together. Love had made them stronger, braver, and more resilient than they could have ever been on their own. And it was love that would continue to carry them through whatever came next. As the evening turned to night, and they all gathered around the table to share a meal, the family knew that their journey was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, moments of difficulty, and times when they would have to lean on each other more than ever. But they had already proven to themselves and to each other that they could face anything together. Katrina's journey had begun with uncertainty, but it had turned into a love story, one filled with kindness, compassion, and a deep sense of purpose. And as she looked around at the family they had built, she knew that this love, the love they had for one another, was the greatest gift of all. It was a love that had saved them, that had brought them closer, and that would continue to guide them through every challenge, every joy, and every twist of fate. The end of this chapter was only the beginning of a lifetime filled with love,